Perfect. Good afternoon and welcome, CAMAF Wellness Club members. This week we've got a very interesting hot topic webinar, relationship red flags and green flags. We've got Duduzile Mpanga with us. She's a qualified psychometrist. So I'm hoping there's going to be a lot of questions. It's going to be a very, very interesting webinar / workshop for today. Guys, as always, please mute your microphones. If there are any questions, just pop it in the Q&A section, or we can try and answer it after this session. But welcome to everyone, and welcome to Duduzile, and over to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Cobus. Thanks for the warm welcome. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to be back. Today's topic is quite interesting, and I'm happy and I'm quite thrilled to see the participants that have turned out for this webinar. Today we'll be discussing relationship red flags and green flags. As usual, ladies and gentlemen, please feel free to participate during the presentation. You're welcome to interrupt me or to put your comments in the chat. Let's make the session as interactive as possible. Like Cobus said, it is a very hot topic, relationship red flags and green flags. So without further ado, let's get right to it. I think for all of us, it can be a little bit difficult to judge a relationship if you don't know a person yet. You tend to wonder if the relationship is healthy or unhealthy, but sometimes we get caught up, in the moment, and we tend to sometimes ignore red flags or even take for granted the green flags, and we miss the moment. Sometimes we romanticize red flags, because sometimes at the beginning they look a bit, they look like what they're not. They look like caring. They look like someone cares about you, someone is concerned about you, and we tend to romanticize, the red flags, and we overlook, what is behind them. And sometimes we tend, like I said, we ignore green flags, we take people for granted. And today we're going to talk a bit more and dissect this topic. So let's get right to it. Let's see here. Right, so what are green flags? So green flags are signs of long-term compatibility. They are signs of long-term compatibility. And I want to just emphasize that when we're talking about relationships today, we want to make it very broad. So we'll be talking about co-workers, friends, or potential partners, So let's make it very broad, because, relationships are quite similar, in how they present and evolve. So let's make it open in that sense. The first green flag that I would like us to talk about today is effective communication. Effective communication. I will try to go into the chat in between if I can. But otherwise, I'll rely on you, Cobus, to say something if you see something in the chat. Right, so effective communication is the first green flag that I would like us to talk about. And it's fundamental in healthy relationships. Communication is fundamental in healthy relationships, and it's the main tool that enables us to connect emotionally and to get to know people that we've just met. When you understand each other, you feel more connected physically and emotionally. Communication is about being able to hold difficult conversations and also have disagreements while remaining respectful, kind, and considerate. It's about allowing others to express their feelings honestly and openly, while also understanding or trying to understand their intentions and their wants and needs. Okay. Is everyone on board so far? All right. So communication is a two-way street, and I would like us to look at the different roles that, the different roles that are there during communication, so that we don't blur the lines, because a lot of things get lost in translation, because during communication we lose sight of the most important thing: who is the speaker and who is the listener. So today I want us to break that down a little bit. So it's a two-way street. There's a role of a speaker and there's a role of a listener. The speaker's role is to be mindful of how you speak and how your words come across, right? It's about respectfully, clearly, and concisely expressing your views, your needs and wishes. It's about addressing the problem and not the person. So effective communication is an excellent indicator of having a healthy relationship. So once you understand your role in the conversation or in what is being said, then you can be able to follow, these guidelines that I've put up here. As a speaker, you be mindful of how you speak and how your words come across. Respectfully, clearly express your views, address the problem and not the person. And as a listener, it's important for you to remain silent. Give the other person a chance to have their say. Right. Give your undivided attention. And how you give undivided attention is through active listening skills. So I'll list a few here. Active listening is about maintaining eye contact, okay? Giving verbal cues, like, or, just saying something, making a sound, to let the person know that you are paying attention. Body language is also important. It's about looking at the person, like I said, maintaining eye contact, and also directing your body towards the speaker. Sometimes if it's someone that's close to you, you want to maintain that connection by, touching them, or just, making sure that you're giving them your undivided attention in whichever way that you're comfortable and they're comfortable. All right. And if you want to disagree as a listener, disagree respectfully. Can you agree, or can you see why it's important that we take the right position during communication? Because otherwise it leads to arguments and misunderstandings, and we lose the plot of what is being said. Any comments on communication?
No, all good from my side, thank you.
All good, thank you. All right. The second green flag I would like us to look at is compatibility. Compatibility is about sharing or prioritizing similar values, beliefs, and expectations, right? It's about gaining insight into each other's value system, worldview, future goals, and aspirations as you get to know each other. So compatibility is a promising sign of long-term compatibility, because it's about making sure that you are in sync with the person that you are getting to know. Are you in alignment, or do you have fundamental differences? I've realized in my work and in my life that, compatibility, one of the main problems of compatibility is misalignment, and that misalignment is caused by unmet expectations. And so expectations will be unmet if they are uncommunicated or if they are assumed. If you assume that you are on the same wavelength or you are in sync, you assume, but you don't confirm. Okay, so it's important for you to know whether you're in alignment or do you have fundamental differences. And on various topics, I've listed a few here, but on things such as gender roles, we know that in relationships, especially in romantic relationships or in marriages and partnerships, there's certain traditional roles that women are expected to play or men are expected to play. It's important to have that conversation and make sure that you clarify what the expectations are. Who is the provider? Who will take the bulk of the financial responsibility in the family? How do we split the money? How do we spend the money? How do we save? How do we invest, right? About having children, about growing the family. Are we going to grow the family? Are you prepared to be pregnant? Are we going to use a surrogate? These are things that in relationships nowadays have become important. So we cannot just expect that when you get married to someone, automatically you think that they're quite excited about having children, male or female. You can't just assume that. You have to clarify that so that you can make up your mind and know whether you are compatible or not. Maybe you have fundamental differences on having children. One of the partners is not keen on having children, or debt. How do we handle debt? How do we finance debt, etc. And the last one, religion, politics, all these types of topics, sports even, these are things that cause major rifts, disagreements, arguments, fights, and even breakups in relationships. When you are incompatible with each other, when you are not in sync, once the dust has settled and that honeymoon stage is over, now we go into the grind. Now we go into the normal day-to-day, realities of being in a relationship and being with someone on a long-term basis. Now we get to know someone's true colors. So it's important before you take your relationship any further to establish very early on whether you're compatible or not. Any comments on compatibility? There's too much silence in this room. There's 21. There's 21 people in the room. I'd like a bit more interaction if you don't mind. All right. The third green flag I'd like us to talk about is connection. All right. So there's two types of connection is intimacy, and there's two types of intimacy that we'll talk about: physical intimacy and emotional intimacy. Let's break it down and see what the differences are. Physical intimacy is about creating a safe and secure connection with your partner. Okay? In romantic relationship, it's easy to see physical intimacy because it's about physical acts such as holding hands, hugging, kissing, cuddling, sexual intercourse, etc. So physical intimacy is easy to express. Emotional intimacy, you find people that are emotionally unavailable or that are avoidant, that have an avoidant personality, which make it difficult to connect with intimately in a relationship. But emotional intimacy is about expressing deep feelings and vulnerability. It's about expressing deep feelings and vulnerabilities, such as sharing goals, aspirations for the future, secrets, etc. Right? Emotional intimacy is also about apologizing and taking accountability for actions or mistakes, right? Anyone want to talk about this? Because I know sometimes we overlook the fact that, being able to apologize and take accountability is a display of emotional intimacy, because you feel comfortable, you feel safe to be vulnerable in that manner with someone. It's a sign of vulnerability. That's why some people find it hard to apologize and take up accountability for mistakes. We'll talk about that though in later slides. So connection or intimacy nurtures effective communication and understanding. It creates a deeper connection, fosters feelings of safety, security, and trust. It creates a deep sense of security within the relationship and gives the people in the relationship the freedom to be yourself, flaws and all. Lack of intimacy may cause feelings of bitterness, resentment, isolation, loneliness, suspicion, lack of trust, loyalty, etc. Anybody want to share about their experiences with intimacy or lack thereof? What has been your experience? Or how easy are you for someone to connect with? Are you emotionally, avoidant? Or are you a sensitive type that is easy to form emotional connections with people? I'd like to get some input from the room, please. Do we have any avoidance in the room?
Yeah, guys, anybody willing to take that leap of faith?
Take the leap of faith, don't be shy.
Yes.
Let's talk about it. Emotional unavailability is one of the major red flags in relationships, because it breaks down the trust relationship. Because people that are emotionally avoidant, they don't open up. You will never know anything about this person. So if you are in the room or you've had an experience with someone like that, let's talk about it. Okay. So moving right along, the fourth green flag I'd like us to talk about is respect for personal boundaries. Sometimes we get so excited about the thrill of being in a relationship, we lose sight of the fact that you are still an individual. You have to have boundaries around you, because boundaries are there to protect your physical safety and your mental and psychological safety. But sometimes also people, as we grow up, we are taught or we are conditioned to lower our standards and to be people pleasers and just, give people free access to us. And that can be a problem. It can cause problems in relationships. So respect for personal boundaries is a green flag. Personal boundaries are about honoring and respecting each other's personal space. They let others know what is okay, and they help protect your mental health, personal space, and give you a sense of safety and security. The first one is physical boundaries. This relates to space, proximity, touch, right? It's important to let people know if you're comfortable with being touched or not. Don't suffer in silence if you find people are overly invading your space, right? Sexual boundaries is about giving consent. Emotional boundaries are about sharing secrets and personal information. You have a right to keep your secrets and not share them, and to do so at your own pace, if that makes sense. So it's a green flag when you can be with someone that will respect these boundaries. Or if you are someone that can indulge people and allow them to express or to require these boundaries of you, right? Economic boundaries are about money, finances. The other thing I want us to talk about in physical boundaries is that in relationships, sometimes it's easy for all these expectations. Remember, we spoke about in the previous slide about, when we are building a connection, it's about discussing your expectations. Are we in alignment about our value systems, our future plans and our goals, and about next steps? One of the boundaries that sometimes gets I don't know what's the word.
Blurred. Maybe blurred.
Yes, the boundary that gets blurred or violated is when someone wants to move into somebody else's home. That's when they're starting now to want to invade your personal space, your home. They want to start driving your car. That's a boundary. So please feel free to chip in and share your experiences if you are one of those people that just give people free access into your life. You give them your keys to your house, keys to your car early on in the relationship. Or are you one of those people that expect people to give you their house keys and their car keys and to just tell you their life story on the first day, on the first month, in the first few weeks? Or do you honor people's boundaries and do you move at a healthy pace? Intellectual boundaries is about IP, right? It's about IP, knowledge, information. Sometimes people try to guilt you for not wanting to share information up front. But again, this is about green flags. If you are with someone that can allow you to say, no, I'm not ready to share that information with you at this point. Or no, I'm not allowed to share that information with you at this point. If you are someone like that, then that's a green flag. It's a good thing to have. And if you don't have that, then you need to reevaluate. The fifth green flag I'd like us to talk about is unconditional acceptance and love. And sometimes unconditional love, it's made a little bit airy-fairy, but I really want us to talk about unconditional love in its truest sense, right? My view of unconditional love is about accepting and validating people for who they are. So I'm not talking about the mushy unconditional love, just tolerating abuse. No, I'm talking about allowing people to be themselves and to express themselves authentically and to not be judged or shamed for who they are, It's about being allowed to be who you are and to express yourself freely. It's about embracing how people look, embracing their achievements, their strengths, and their weaknesses, embracing their beliefs and convictions. It encourages and empowers you to be authentically yourself without judgment or ridicule. Have you ever been in a relationship where you had to, be somebody else just to be accepted? Or you're trying to, connect with a certain group of people, but they don't make you feel welcome. Maybe because of things. Let's talk about things that you cannot change. How you look, for example, your physical looks, or the car you drive, or the way you live. Sometimes those are the things that make people feel inadequate in relationship, because there's that lack of acceptance and unconditional love. We should feel safe in relationships. We should feel accepted and loved unconditionally. There's some research that's been done on unconditional love, and it's been found that unconditional love activates the same areas in the brain, in the brain's reward system, as romantic love. So it produces positive feelings, it improves one's emotional well-being, and for children, unconditional love leads to greater resilience in adulthood and fewer mental health symptoms. It's actually also been found to be a buffer. It protects against childhood trauma and childhood adversity. So children who've received unconditional love from their parents or caregivers, they grow up pretty secure. It builds that secure self-concept. That's why it's so important. Sometimes we don't find unconditional love from our parents and caregivers, and so we throw ourselves in relationships where we are still looking for that unconditional love and acceptance. And sometimes, if we were raised by parents that are emotionally avoidant, or etc., we end up caught up in toxic relationships because that need was not met. And so we have a very anxious attachment style. Neurotransmitters that are related to feelings of love are dopamine and norepinephrine, and that is why you find people that are in love or people that are in new relationship, they're always feeling giddy, excited, just in high spirits, euphoria. It's because of those areas of the brain that relate to reward and motivation that have been stimulated. So it's good to give unconditional love, but also to receive it. Any comments from the room on unconditional love? Have you received, or do you give unconditional love, or do you expect to be given unconditional love? How do you navigate your relationships?
I think we all want unconditional love at the end of the day.
Yeah. We want unconditional love. We want to be accepted for who we are and not be judged or ridiculed for who we are. Other hormones such as oxytocin, vasopressin promote feelings of trust, empathy, fidelity, and other factors of long-term attachment. And I put the bonding because there's something that's called a trauma bond, where if you find yourself in a toxic relationship, it becomes even difficult to leave that relationship because of that chemical addiction, because of these are the hormones that cause that chemical addiction. So if you find yourself caught up in a toxic in an abusive relationship or in an abuse cycle where you're on again, off again, on again, off again, just know the reason you can't quit that person is because of that chemical addiction. It's because of dopamine. It's because of oxytocin and all these neurotransmitters and hormones that are being released on the good days, right? Because there's good days and bad days. So you get addicted to the excitement of the good days. Craig says his PC doesn't have a mic. Craig, feel free to just type something in the chat, and no problem at all. Just type something in the chat, it will be great. The sixth green flag is being seen and heard, right? It's being seen and heard. It's that unconditional love and unconditional acceptance again. You know, it's important to choose people who see you, who hear you, and validate you, right? And how do we know that we are seen and heard and validated? Is when we know that people are listening. So they're listening to you. They listen to your words. They listen to your feelings. They listen and care about you and are concerned about you. And they assure you that your reactions or your expectations are reasonable and valid, right? People who see you and hear you, they energize with you. They are on the same wavelength with you. They are sensitive to your energy. When you're up, they can tell. And when you're down, they can tell. And they can be there with you, you know, and they can give you that support that you need at any given moment. They also normalize with you. They don't question or challenge you or shame you or judge you. They are just there. And so it's important to choose people who make you feel seen and heard. Any input on green flags before we move on to red flags? Any questions?
Nothing from my side. Guys, any questions, any comments? Or has everybody got the perfect relationships? Yeah, everybody's got green flags at this stage, looks like.
Everyone has green flags and everyone has green demeanors, right? Everyone is healthy. There are no toxic people in the room. Dorian says, yes, very true. Jade, nothing from you. Okay, thanks for those comments. Right, let's talk about red flags. What are they? Red flags are signs of an unhealthy relationship or of an unhealthy attachment style. They are warning signs. They are signs that you should slow down, leave, or run. Sometimes, like I said earlier, red flags may seem romantic. They may seem like green flags, right? Because they seem like they come from a good place. And then later on, you see them for what they are, and it's scary. The first red flag I want us to talk about is abusive behavior. It's abusive behavior, overt aggression. Overt aggression. Physical violence in all its shapes and forms. Pushing, pulling, assault, etc. Verbal abuse, name calling, yelling, screaming, etc. Emotional abuse, criticism, blaming, shaming, guilt tripping. put downs, right? Psychological abuse, manipulation, deception, gaslighting. We'll talk more about that in a later slide. Sexual assault, rape, sexual penetration without consent. These are undeniable and easily identifiable red flags in any relationship. There's no negotiating these. There's no way of coexisting with this. How do you coexist with this? It's impossible. It's impossible. You cannot make sense of this. You cannot explain it away. You have no option when you're dealing with this. So your options are very limited. You have to reconsider. No one ever has the right to use others as a punching bag or as a scapegoat for their own problems or feelings of inadequacy. There is no excuse for this. Imagine living with someone like this. Are you that person, or do you live with someone like this? It's a scary experience. It's traumatic, and I do sympathize with men, women, and children who have to live under these circumstances. The second red flag is covert abuse. Covert abuse or passive aggressive behavior. This includes lies, secrets, denial, defensiveness, stonewalling, silent treatment, shutting down, withholding, victim blaming, playing the victim, deflection, projection. This is psychological warfare. This is psychological mind games, minimizing, trivializing issues, reversing the victim and offender, lack of remorse, lack of accountability. Anybody wants any clarity on these, or are we on board about what they are or what they look like? Let me know if you want clarity on any of these passive aggressive behaviors. The third red flag I'd like us to talk about is substance abuse. Any relationship can quickly turn toxic if addiction or substance dependency is present. It's a self-destructive habit, and it indicates a struggle with impulse control. Substance abuse is an illness, and so if you or your loved one is struggling and needs help, contact the nearest mental health worker or support group or addiction clinic for help. Substance abuse is another obvious and clearly identifiable red flag. Does this look familiar? The fourth red flag is lies or dishonesty. And there are two types of lies. Does anyone know what we're talking about when we say there are two types of lies? Quickly. Two types of lies. Anything in the chat? What comes to mind when we say two types of lies? Two types. Okay, right. The first one is a lie, lies of commission. And the second one, lies of omission. Okay. Both types of lies lead to a breakdown of trust and faith in the relationship. Lies of commission include telling someone something that is simply not true. It's about falsehoods, fabrications, fake news, disclosing something that is false as if it's true. Oh, I didn't see this. Stonewalling, stonewalling, Notando was asking about stonewalling. So stonewalling, like I said in the previous slide, is when you shut down. Stonewalling is like the silent treatment, when you refuse to engage. Notando, does it make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you. So when you try to hold someone accountable, or you ask them questions, or you ask for clarification, or you want receipts, they stonewall you, they refuse to engage, they withdraw, and they stop communicating. Jade says, when you purposefully lie, and the other when you choose to leave out some details. Thanks, Jade. Yes, so you were responding to lies of commission and lies of omission. Thanks for that. You are spot on. So lies of commission and lies of omission. Lies of commission is when you purposefully lie, and lies of omission is when you leave out certain details. Spot on, Jade. Thanks for that. So lies of omission are deliberately and intentionally leaving out important details so that the truth is skewed or misrepresented. Deliberately forgetting to tell someone that you have children, or you've been married before, or you have a criminal record, or you have been blacklisted, or police are looking for you, etc. Gaslight, Rudo asked for, please explain gaslighting. Gaslighting is when you when you inflate, or when you there's an acronym that explains gaslighting. It's deny, it's DAVO, deny, and deny, reverse, victim, and offender, right? So gaslighting is when you reverse victim and offender. You change the story, or you change the chronology of events, right? So when you deny or you reverse victim and offender, suddenly you are not the one who caused the problem. The victim is the one who caused the problem. Suddenly that's not what was said, or suddenly you were not there, or suddenly that's not what you meant. Gaslighting is just causing chaos about the whole thing, making it not make sense, so that you shift accountability to the victim. So it's about victim blaming. That's why you are reversing the victim and the offender. So when the victim says, I was offended when you said such and such, you say, no, but you first said such and such, and then, but I never said such and such. That's what gaslighting is. Rudo, I hope that explains it. I hope I'm making sense. Thank you. Yes. Okay, perfect. Thank you. The fourth red flag is controlling behavior. Controlling behavior presents itself as someone expecting or forcing you to cater to their own needs at your expense. Give you money, give them your car, let them move in, let them have indulgences on you, on your body, on your possessions, and if you don't, they get mad. The controlling person targets an individual and dominates them in an unhealthy, self-serving manner. This is psychological manipulation. Remember the previous slide where we were talking about gaslighting and stonewalling. This is all psychological tactics. It's psychological warfare. Examples of controlling behavior: excessive love and affection very early on. Moving too quickly. Let's go out. Let's go for lunch. Let's go to Mauritius. Let's go on holiday. Let's do this. Let's just like this, and this after the other. Too quickly. Jealousy or false accusations. Isolation. We'll talk more about isolation in the next slide. I'm sure by now some of us are triggered, or we have some flashbacks if we've experienced these things. This slide is here to say we see you and we empathize with you. Isolation. In healthy relationship, we have freedom to pursue our own interests, goals, and dreams. We have freedom to maintain close connections with friends and family. But in an unhealthy relationship, you will see an obsession that seems romantic at first. Remember that love bombing and that moving too quickly we spoke about in the previous slide. But over time, this obsession will mean that you are being isolated from friends and family members because this is their way of maintaining control over you and over the relationship. The seventh red flag is emotional abuse. It's meant to inspire fear and to maintain control over the target. There is a tendency for emotional outbursts that have no restraint or are disproportionate to the situation at hand, where someone gets frustrated or agitated at the slightest provocation, right? Such as when they want to dictate what you can wear, when you can wear it. Where are you? Secretly tracking you or checking your phone. These are controlling behaviors, although they may seem like they come from a place of love and care. Lack of empathy is an inability to consider other people's feelings and emotion. Most people who are emotionally avoidant, they can't really empathize. They are insensitive. They only care about their own needs and about themselves. They don't want to consider other people's needs and wishes. They also don't feel guilt or remorse. They always want to have their own way. How do you protect yourself if you find yourself in a relationship that has more red flags than green flags? The first thing you need to do is to take your time when you get to know someone. Of course, close relationships are great. They give us a sense of closeness and belonging. However, don't rush into relationship by sharing too much too soon. Sharing personal information, because that becomes the ammunition that people may use against you to manipulate you or to blackmail you, right? Make you do things against your will because they have information about you, secrets. So be careful and cautious about oversharing. Also avoid codependent relationship. And a codependent relationship is a toxic relationship. It's when one or both partners are addicted to the entanglement or the drama of the toxic relationship. Remember those neurotransmitters we spoke about causes that chemical addiction where it becomes difficult to leave. Reconsider your options. If you notice any of these warning signs in your partner's behavior or in your own behavior, it's time to renegotiate or to terminate the relationship or to seek help from a mental health practitioner so that you can learn healthy ways of relating with other people. If you've been in an unhealthy relationship for a few weeks, it may be as easy as one uncomfortable conversation for you to cut your losses and to end it. But if you've been in a long-term relationship or someone is violent, then you might have to speak to a professional or go to a shelter or get law enforcement involved. But don't stay in an abusive relationship. And if you are the abusive party, then seek help. Seek help for yourself, not for the other person, but for yourself, so that you can be a better person. And when you are seeking help and healing and getting therapy, it helps to be not in a relationship, not to be in a romantic relationship, so that you can work on yourself and focus on yourself and deal with your own so-called demons. Okay, because healing is a long-term journey and it's a painful experience, and it's important for you to be there for yourself and to hold space for yourself when you're going through that. And that's it. Any questions? Please feel free to
open up.
Yes, any questions or comments, you're welcome to.
Guys, any questions from your side? Any comments? Anybody willing to take the leap of faith? Okay, perfect. Thanks, Dorian. Yeah, look, I know it's a very difficult thing, and I know it's obviously very personal to everybody, and you don't want to be vulnerable now and give out too much information. As I say, it's about the trust and all of that. But I'm hoping that people that are members did find this helpful, and obviously it's food for thought to have that introspection and to look at your relationships and what is the path forward, if there is a path forward. But yeah, I think just everybody's just, it looks like there's good comments on that side there to do, Zile. Perfect.
Yes, I see Craig says, thank you, very informative. He will use the tips as a checklist on his next date. Enjoy the date. Enjoy the date. Don't overdo it, Craig.
Yeah.
Be discreet about it.
Not too many dates, Craig.
Yeah. Jade says no questions. Eye-opening. Thank you. Thanks, Jade, for that input. Will you be able to share the slides, Kobus? I'm happy to share the slides with you to share them.
Perfect,
Craig says no, please. Be discreet, Craig, as
awesome.
You go about checking.
And I think with that being said, I think that's it for today. Thank you to everybody that took out this lunchtime to join us and that are still logged in. Guys, I hope you found it informative. And thank you to Dezilia, as always, for joining us. I know that you're also very busy on your side. And then looking forward to the next session. And thanks, everyone. And I hope to see you guys tomorrow, late afternoon, for our next training session. Goodbye, everyone. Keep well. Bye.
Cheers, everyone.